Welcome back to another edition of the Sooner Pocket Podcast. Sam Knight here, along with my brother, Chris Knight, taping this Monday night, a little after 10:30 Central. Got a very, very upset Bears fan on my screen here. Chris, what happened with the Bears to go into the fourth quarter having not even given up 100 yards and end up losing the way that they did?
The Bears are going to bear. There's no way around it. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Uh, in the third quarter, the Vikings defense really stepped up, and our offensive line looked like hot garbage. Brought in Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson, the center and two guards, to try and beef up that offensive line. And still, every other play, Caleb Williams, by the time the ball has reached him in the shotgun, half the defensive line is in the backfield chasing after him. So that's not exactly a recipe for success, and the defense just got gassed, and Vikings at that point could do whatever they wanted. No, it's just
Yeah.
I'm honestly not all that upset because I kind of saw it coming. I told my wife whenever the fourth quarter started, I said, "Now just wait. There's a lot of football left to be played."
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Well, speaking of people being in the backfield, Kendall Daniels laying the rubber to Justice Haynes. The Oklahoma defense did not fail to show up on
Nope.
uh, on Saturday against Michigan. Um, Sent the Wolverines home packing. Made Bryce Underwood wish that he'd never showed up. He ended up passing 9 of 24, had somewhere just north of a buck 40 in total yardage. Um, Woof. Not what I think you expected necessarily if you were a Michigan fan. Because traditionally, and I say traditionally, really like over the last 15 years or so, over the last 15 years, if you put Michigan or any notable Big Ten school up against OU, odds are you are going to out physical the Sooners with your offensive line against the Sooner defensive line. And that didn't happen this time around. Oklahoma's defense dominated. It was, aside from the play that started the third quarter, it was arguably the greatest defensive performance holistically for the Venables-led defense here at OU.
Yeah, it really wasn't even that close, too. Something that Teddy Lehman and Gabe Eichert brought up, and I just took a look on here to bring the numbers to you all. On Michigan's first possession of the game, second play of the game, they had a 19-yard play action boot pass. Uh, Missed assignment there. I think it was Peyton Bowen. I can't remember but one of our defenders who was in coverage saw Bryce Underwood beginning to run, so he came up to try and stop him, and it left a guy wide open. First play of the second half, of course, we all know 75-yard touchdown run for Michigan for Justice Haynes. He On that one, there was a cornerback who had an angle at him. Should have been second and 12 after that, but he missed him. So that's a second missed assignment. And then their last drive of the third quarter, they started off with that 44-yard bomb that looked similar to the David Tyree helmet catch. That one, we didn't make a mistake. That was just a hell of a play by that Michigan receiver, Donovan McCulley. Those three plays combined, that was a 44-yard play. Those three plays combined added up to 138 yards. 138 yards. Michigan ended the game with 288 yards. So almost half of their yardage came on those three plays. The rest of the game, we had Bryce Underwood and that offense in hell. They were not having a good time. They were struggling to move the ball. And we heard all going into this week Going into this past week, they were saying, "Oh, OU isn't physical enough to match that Michigan front seven or to match that Michigan offensive line. Michigan, they have this great offensive line that Oklahoma's not going to know how to deal with." We bullied their offensive line. We made a joke out of them. There was one play in the first half, I believe it was in the second quarter. Uh, it was a little read option, and our defense, it was that one, it was on third down, they didn't know who had the ball, so they just attacked both the running back and Bryce Underwood. But if you look at the start of that play, it starts with pretty much the entire defensive line pushing the offensive line about 2 yards back, which if you're run blocking, you're off to a terrible start if you're immediately pushed 2 yards back. That was the story of the game. Don't even get me started on that hit that Kendall Daniels delivered, just absolutely flattening Justice Haynes. As Toby Rowland said, justice was served. It was just that was that was arguably the best defensive performance that I'm old enough to remember. Of course, the 2001 game against Texas, the 2000 game against Nebraska, I was alive for those, but 2 and 3 year old me isn't going to remember those.
That's fair. That's fair. Talking about the defense here, what I don't want to gloss over is John Mateer's performance. Um, he had the one interception, but aside from the interception, just chunk play after chunk play, whether it was through the air to Jaron Kanak, Deion Burks, or if it was his legs getting him there. We have football back on the offensive side of the ball here in Norman, and it is a very, very welcome sight. Very welcome sight. Mateer, I think, is on his way to some serious numbers. I've seen some Heisman polling online, some odds makers anyway, with Mateer at number one right now in the Heisman voting, Heisman polling anyway, ahead of Garrett Nussmeier. Nussmeier ahead in some of those. Um, Arguably though, the biggest surprise of the weekend was not in Norman. Biggest surprise of the weekend was in Florida with the
Gainesville.
Bulls of USF taking down Florida. And that leads me to my next point here. Oklahoma up to 13 in the AP poll now, right? We moved up 5 spots because we won. USC affiliated AP voter Haley Sawyer nicely listed Florida still ahead of USF in her latest AP poll submission, and had a couple other fun things here. Had Baylor ranked ahead of unranked Auburn, and she's got South Carolina in the top 10. I don't know. I don't know. Some of these AP voters kill me because you can look at the deal that Reddit CFB puts together, and at the top of it, it will show you the people that voted closest to what the cumulative AP poll ended up being. It'll show you what the variance was with the lowest variance up top. And where some of the people near the bottom get off with their figures, I just don't know. I don't know. So, one example here, Sam McEwen, Nebraska affiliated AP voter of the Omaha World Herald. Auburn ranked 8th. USC ranked 12th. We've got USF in there, which is good. USF is in the 20s. So, at least they got in there in that poll. But yeah, it surprises me some of these people have AP votes, if I'm being honest. I just don't fully understand where the logic comes in for some of them to do some of the things that they do.
You want to hear the craziest part though about Haley's vote?
Yeah.
I just I heard this and I just took a look to confirm and it's accurate. Week 2, going into week 2, Florida is 1-0. Haley has let's see here. Haley Sawyer, that's her name, has Florida at number 16 in the AP poll. Florida then plays against unranked USF at home, loses loses. What was the final score? 18 to 16?
Yeah.
Lost to unranked South Florida at home. Got dominated for a lot of that game. She had Florida ranked 16th in the week 2 poll, and in the week 3 poll, she has them ranked 14th. So not only does she have 2-0 USF unranked, who throttled number 25 Boise State and then beat number 13 Florida, she saw that performance from Florida and said, you know what? I didn't have them ranked high enough. They need to be higher. They just might be the number one team in the country. That was a quality loss. So it baffles me. One other interesting note, just kind of across the board of AP voters. Last week, we had beaten Illinois State 35 to 3, and people didn't really know how to rank us. The highest somebody had us ranked was number 6.
I
Remember
was
that
with
number,
them.
number 6. Uh, and there were some AP voters who just didn't have us ranked. This week, the highest anybody has us ranked is number 7. There are two people who have us ranked number 7. They are David Jablonski and Dylan Sims. Uh, they both have us ranked number 7. So the people who had us ranked number 6 watch us host a top 15 Michigan team at home, dominate them on both sides of the ball. The only reason that final score wasn't closer to the lines of 42 to 10 or 42 to 3 was because we kept getting in our own way. And that could have gotten really ugly. But people saw that and they went, "You know what? Maybe 6 was too high." And they said, "Let's move them back." So the AP voters make little to no sense to me. There are a lot of people out there. I saw this one thing earlier that described it well. A lot of people out there who would kill to have an AP vote, and a lot of the people who have an AP vote just don't really seem to care that much. But the only rankings
I'm
that end up
convinced some of them
mattering,
don't watch the games.
no,
I'm
not at
convinced
all.
some of them watch one or two games and they go off to a wedding or they go off to a funeral and, you know, they wake up, they look at a couple scores and they're like, ah, Florida's the number 2 team in the country. This makes sense. Like,
And
no, they're not the number 2 team. They're the team that is number 2. They are total crap.
mm-hmm. Yeah, they just, at the end of the day, the only poll that matters is the college football playoff poll. And hopefully by the time that poll comes out, we are still in this general area of the polls. There's no way we're making it through this schedule undefeated. 8 of our next 10 opponents are currently ranked.
Yeah,
But if we're still in this area of the poll, we're doing a pretty good job.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. OU this coming week traveling to Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken, for Temple. Can never really remember where Temple is, but traveling to Temple, big favorite, 24 and a half point favorite on a 51 and a half point over under. Heavily favored, obviously not quite as heavily as against Illinois State, but still expected to win this one probably. Be an interesting uh, road game for us. I don't really remember playing a team like Temple on the road in recent memory. Just a team that it's no shot at Temple, but I think there's definitely a talent disparity there. And usually those end up at the home of the bigger branded team. So I don't know. Temple 2-0 this season, 55-7 over Howard, 42-10 over Massachusetts. They've got some good offense. Their leading rusher is their running back compared to OU, where our leading rusher for the season is our quarterback. Their leading rusher, Jay Ducker, 215 yards, a touchdown on the year, and led by quarterback Evan Simon, 422 passing yards on the year, 9 touchdowns. No picks yet. Hopefully OU can work their way toward a positive value in the turnover margin this coming week. The player I've been surprised by, I think, and that I'm looking forward to seeing in this game is Sammy Omasigo. Um, he has really made himself a factor. He's kind of coming out like our Mason Thomas did last year, where they were good the year before. You knew who they were good, but um, it's like they took an extra step. Um, so yeah, Omasigo been hugely impressive to me. A lot of penetration, a lot of good matchups. Offensive side, looking to see Michael Fasusi continue to grow. I think Biedenbow found his front five in that matchup against Michigan. So just hoping we can get through Texas at least with no significant injuries to anybody on the line. Knock on wood. But yeah, that's what we got as far as predicting the OU Temple game. I've got a 38-10 score. I think Temple finds the end zone late, probably exits the first half with a field goal. 38-10. OU will cover, but barely.
There's two ways I see this game going. First, how the main thing that'll determine it is how does OU handle success this year? Brent Venables made a great point to make sure that the team was aware of how poorly we handled success a couple years ago. John Mateer brought it up. He wasn't even part of the team back then. 2023 season, we're 6-0. We beat Texas. We're ranked number 5 in the poll. We have a bye week then when they drop us to number 6. It's looking like we are going to ride high to the college football playoff. Then we enter a 3 game stretch where it takes us preventing a 2 point conversion to keep from losing to 3-win UCF. We then travel to Kansas the next week and lose. And then we go to Stillwater the next week and lose. We handled success so poorly that season. And this is one of the biggest wins OU has had in a long time. One of the most significant regular season wins we've had in a long time. The Alabama game last year was nice. It didn't do much of anything when it comes to our like it got us bowl eligibility. That and like it gave them a nice springboard into this year. That's about it. This really has a chance to set our team up for success if they can handle success well this time, if they can go out there, play their brand of football, play every down like it's their last, play it the way that you're supposed to, play it the way you always hear Nick Saban describe the way that he wanted his teams to play, we're probably going to be beating Temple 42 to nothing at halftime. I mean, there is a major league talent disparity. Temple, they have some great players and they've got a really good offense, but it should not be a match if we struggle to maintain success, if the physical nature of our game against Michigan catches up to us, or we're looking ahead to Auburn, we're looking ahead to Texas, we're looking at some of those other games, I could very easily see it being like 17-7 at halftime and a final score of I'll say 27-10. If we play the brand of football we should play, my score prediction is going to be 55-3. I think we are just now that we've had to unleash our offense against Michigan, people are going to have tape on us. We might as well perfect the plays that we are going to be running the rest of the season, as opposed to not running them so other teams don't know how to prepare for them. I want to make sure that we're as prepared as possible. And so we're probably going to unleash that offense. And if they play the way they should, 55-3.
Very nice. Very nice. Before we wrap here, 4 games for the upcoming week that we're going to predict here. First one, number 6, Georgia at number 15, Tennessee, 2:30 on ABC. Arguably the SEC matchup of the week. I've got Georgia pulling this one out in Neyland, probably by a couple scores.
I I don't know. I don't think Tennessee will win. I don't think it's going to be a traditional Georgia football game. Uh, I think if Georgia keeps Tennessee out of the end zone a lot, I think it's going to come right back to him. Gunnar Stockton has played against Marshall and Austin P. And in those two games, he's thrown a total of two touchdown passes. Again, Marshall and Austin P. Uh, Joey Aguilar, he's only completing about two-thirds of his passes right now, but he's thrown for 535 yards and five touchdowns. Some of those were against Syracuse. And let me tell you, I know what we all thought when Nico Iamaleava left, what we thought would happen to that Tennessee offense. I think they've gotten better. Their defense has taken a step back. They lost a lot of their best playmakers, but that Tennessee offense, they are explosive. They are good. They are really good. I think this is either going to be a shootout or it's going to be like a 10-7 final score. Uh, I think Georgia will get it, but I think it's just going to be by the skin of their teeth.
We'll see. We'll see. In-state matchup here that's taken on some new significance. Number 5, Miami, hosting number 18, South Florida. Miami going in a 17.5-point favorite. Um, I think I think the bull rush stops here. USF's going to keep this one close early. Probably throw Carson Beck and the Miami offense a look or two that maybe they haven't seen on tape, because it's kind of what you got to do when you're in South Florida's position against the number 5 team in the country. So they'll get a lick or two in early, but Miami's going to take control of that one, walk out of there. Yeah, I don't see that one being terribly close by the time it's all said and done.
No, I think Carson Beck is playing really well. We saw what they did against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is one tough team. They will beat you up physically, and they have a lot of great players, and Miami really played well against them. They beat them. They are a really good team. Of the two teams South Florida has played and beaten, Miami is the only one that's been tested by an established good team. And it would be cool to see South Florida go on this run this year where they upset a lot of the where they kind of become this year's Purdue. It would be cool to see them become this year's Purdue, in that no one is safe when they're playing against them, but they're still a terrible team. I don't think Miami is going to come in unprepared to that game. I think they're probably gonna. If I had to guess, they're probably gonna win by 30 at least.
Yeah. In conference, game that, again, because of USF, this one would have been a bit more significant. But, I don't think everybody thinks as highly of Florida now. Number 3, LSU and Garrett Nussmeier hosting Florida, 6:30 on ABC. LSU 9.5-point favorite, 54.5-point over under. LSU really underwhelmed last week, offensively. Their defense played well and the offense got done what it needed to get done to win the game. But it's kind of a surprising downturn after what we saw against Clemson in that first week of the season. So I was left kind of unsure there. I think Florida, based on what we saw against USF and looking at Billy Napier's record there, his past behavior at Florida, I think Florida's in for another rough year, likely. So LSU's going to walk out of there with this one. I think LSU's probably the tougher and the more skilled team, but I don't think it's going to be by very much. I'm seeing maybe a 24-17 or 24-20 type game here. LSU walking out with it.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be closer than a lot of people probably believe. Billy Napier, he seems to get his team ready for the most random games each year. They'll they'll get blown out by a team that's about at the same caliber as them. But then last year, if you remember, They almost beat Georgia. They had them. They had Georgia. And it was just a couple late screw ups that gave the game to Georgia and let them win. Georgia, who ended up winning the SEC and going to the college football playoff, beat Texas twice last year. That was a good Georgia team. And Florida, they almost had them. I think
Yeah.
I think DJ Lagway is too good to let his struggles from this past week cascade. Uh, I think if there's going to be an upset this week of a ranked team, it's going to be Florida over LSU. But do I think that's going to happen? No. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to prove to be the better quarterback. The LSU defense is probably going to pitch a second half shutout. I've got a final score of 21-10.
Well, we're not going to predict it, but if you're looking for a potential unranked over ranked upset, look no further than Diego Pavia and the Commodores walking into Gamecock territory. Vanderbilt 2-0, facing off against number 11, 2-0 South Carolina. Game of the week, number 16 Texas A&M at number 8 Notre Dame. Notre Dame 0-1 coming off the defeat to LSU. Despite that, they're a 6.5-point favorite, 49.5-point over under here. That'll be on NBC this week. Notre Dame's going to rebound. Texas A&M finds a way to boof up these games. They just do. Doesn't matter if it's Jimbo, if it's Mike Elko. We can go back to Dennis Franchione. We can go to whoever we need to go to. Texas A&M will Texas A&M, to put it in terms of your Bears will Bears thing from the front of this. Notre Dame's going to win this one by 10 to 14 points. How high it gets will depend on what the defenses do, but I think a 10 to 14 point margin for Notre Dame in this one.
Before I predict that, you brought up that South Carolina game. Couple things important to note if anybody's betting on the game out there. A, South Carolina struggled mightily against Virginia Tech for most of that game. B, they were losing to FCS South Carolina State in the second quarter. Their first score of the game was until the second quarter, and it was a special team score. Regardless, Notre Dame, I think, is too tough for Texas A&M. Both just they're a difficult opponent and they are a very physical team. Texas A&M has gotten off to two slow starts this year, two very slow starts against two very inferior opponents. They went up against UTSA, and it was a one-score game halfway through the third quarter. They went up against Utah State, and yes, they beat them convincingly, but it just I don't know. They didn't look great. They didn't look great. By the time it was halftime, yes, the game was over. It was 30-6 that everyone was going to win. But Notre Dame, not only are they a really good team, they will take advantage if you don't come out strong, and they are a second half team. So if Notre Dame takes a lead at any point before halftime, that game is over, and I don't see a way that Notre Dame isn't winning that game by halftime. I've got a relatively low scoring one, 24-14 Notre Dame.
Right on. Right on. We'll see how it goes. This was the Sooner Pocket Podcast. Make sure to check out our blog here, www.soonerpocket.com. A lot of good content on there, game recaps, previews, nice graphics that Chris makes, all that sort of good stuff. I'm Sam Knight here with Chris Knight. Boomer Sooner, everybody. Let's get a win against Temple this week. Stay safe. Have a great week.
Boomer Sooner.